everybody. Welcome to this month's edition of Level Up. This is an amazing show where we bring in a new guest expert each month to discuss a piece of Keap's lifecycle automation framework. What's amazing is if you don't know, Keap is, of course, an amazing automation CRM tool that small businesses all over the world use. However, a tool is just a tool without the strategy. And that's why we love this show. We bring in amazing people to make sure that any tools and strategies you have in place are all pieced together to form a really beautiful and automated and efficient lifecycle for your prospects and customers. What's really neat about this show too is that, and you'll get to see our guest in a moment here, is that we bring in experts. Sometimes it's someone across the world. Sometimes it's someone in a wildly niche industry. And sometimes, like today, we're going to get to talk to an employee of Keap themselves who's an expert in their field. So today's topic, we're going to talk about the attract section of lifecycle automation, and the topic du jour, or of the month, I should say. I don't know how to say month in French, but we're going to talk about how to attract your target audience with search engine optimization. So you got a couple of fun people to hang out with today. My name is Jade. I am so excited to be your host today because that means I get to have amazing conversations with our guest experts. So I'm a Keap certified partner. I get to use automation tools and build these types of strategies all day for small businesses all over the world. And I have a great time doing it. And I also am an expert in community engagement design. But let's talk about our guests. Let's bring them on up. So everyone give a very warm welcome. Mikey, say hi. Mikey, Brazil. There he comes. Hey, welcome.
Everybody watching. How's it going? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yeah, it is Friday. Everybody,
Friday.
Unless you're watching on the other side of the world, it's Saturday morning or afternoon. You never know. Hey, guys. Guys, I'm so excited to have Mikey here. He is I'm very, very excited for this conversation because he has a particularly very, very techie and intuitive mind, but he also is an artist at heart. We're both musicians. Unfortunately, we're not going to jam today. Right. Next time.
My piano, my background.
So, but we're going to talk about search engine optimization, which is your particular expertise, and we're going to basically have an amazing conversation about it, but it's going to be very actionable. So guys, if you like to take notes, pull up your apps, your phone, your notebooks, whatever makes you happy, because you're going to get some actionable ideas from an incredible expert today. So thanks for joining us, Mikey.
Glad to be here. I can't wait to get going. There's lots to talk about, especially these days with
I know. I mean, things do really, really change fast. So that's why it's so important to come to events like these and stay in touch, because we all can't know everything. You know what I mean?
Quite.
So we love this. So before we jump in, everyone, let's make sure we get really, really cozy, because if this is your first time, maybe want to make sure you know where to find the resources that we're talking about. So first of all, let's take a poll. So if you're unfamiliar with your screen, there's a couple areas. So that you might see like a little arrow on your top right corner, and that will open and close the chat and poll section. So you see that little red circle on the screen here. Make sure you expand that so you can see the chat and polls. You'll see chat and poll on the top. So it's like two different tabs on the right side of your screen. So answer the poll quiz, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But also, please chat with us. We love it. Depending on the gravity of your question, I may incorporate that or ask it of Mikey while we're kind of on the go. Depends how relevant it is. But if it's a really meaty question, we might actually save that for Q&A if we have time, because we have a lot of really juicy tips to cover today. So we want to make sure we get to all of it. And then also, if you didn't notice while you're taking that poll, not only is there an arrow on the right, but there's an arrow on the bottom. And that's really important because that's where you're going to get extra links and resources. Mikey's going to give us a lot of cool links and things to look into so we can actually implement these things ourselves, which is amazing. And also, you have links to stuff like the resources for the entire lifecycle automation framework that we're talking today. This is just a slice. Today is about getting the eyeballs, am I right? But that's just a piece of the really big entire life cycle. So make sure you see everything below this video screen so you grab all of those links and resources today. but that will be available the whole time. So sit back, relax, and we're going to have an amazing time today. Let's see how those poll results are going. And everyone, chat. Boston. Oh, hey, Mikey, we have some musicians on the call.
All right.
Oh my gosh. I have a music degree. Joe has a music degree. Cindy's high. Michelle's a guitarist. Scott, I'm pretty sure you play at least one instrument.
Wow, I love it.
I am loving this. Okay, cool. And I got good news for you, Mikey.
Yeah.
The poll results are in. Well over half said that they could use some guidance. And
Right, cool.
let's just assume that's because things change so fast. Because I know we're all smart. We're all excited to learn. So what do you say we just jump in?
Let's go. I'm ready.
Cool. Okay.
I'm ready.
So to set the stage, let's talk about like the big, amazing future. Why is this important to us? How can actually implementing these impact our success for small businesses like all of ours? What do you think?
Yeah. So SEO really does make it so that your business is visible online and ranking for the relevant keywords that your audience is actually using to try and find products and services like yours. And then that, if you are doing SEO, in that thoughtful, right kind of way, it means that you're able to attract more of qualified traffic, people who are really likely to actually become leads, and who are then gonna even more likely to become paying customers. So that's the importance of SEO. I mean, high level. In addition to that, as far as, sort of your bottom line as a small business, in addition to that, in terms of the SEO sphere, Google sphere, it also means that having your SEO zipped up, that Google, and for that matter but Google in particular, are going to view your small business as a source of credible information about your particular area of products and or services. It means they're going to view you with trust and that you've got authority. So particularly, we'll get into this more, but as we are talking about answering questions, right? Having your website there to answer the most commonly asked queries that your target demographic is asking. You want to make it so that your answers are getting looked at by Google's algorithm, and being seen as trustworthy, that is fact-based, and they decide, okay, you know what, so-and-so's site needs to be served up number 1 or number 2 for this particular query. Or maybe it's also the people also ask box that you get served up in. So
does it sound like you're talking a lot about, like, I think we all know that we should be making content and engaging with our audience regularly, but does that like overlap with the techie world of SEO?
Sure, yeah. So I think that I mean, the reality is that, everybody's heard it, content is king. But the reality is that, Google is looking at the most, particularly now in the age of AI and ChatGPT, Google Bard.
Yeah.
Google's looking at websites that can give answers that ChatGPT, that its own Bard, can't create. So they're looking for personalized narrative, personalized questions, and personalized answers above anything else. So yes, wow. So that there is clearly now in the age of AI, there is definitively an overlap between the techie, if you will, right, and content.
Right. So you're saying that this is all possible because it's incredibly technical, but you're already talking about things that we already know and probably are already doing, producing high quality content that's in conversation with our prospects, right?
For sure. And so the great news here is that, for our small business owners, you all are you're the source of the best information. You're the ones who are going to be able to lead and ideally rank well and get those qualified users to your website, because you're sharing the knowledge that you have of your small business and of your particular verticals. So all very possible. Yes.
Okay. I think that helps a lot, because what we want to do, especially with this whole conversation format. So for all of you guys watching, we want you to know, and I'm talking to myself too, that this is completely attainable. Like look at the screen, guys. We all want to be in front of our audience, and we want to be valuable. And if we just pair the best practices that we already know, like talk to your, this is what I'm hearing from you, right? It's like talking to your people authentically in your content and just marrying it with a couple of really helpful tips that we're going to learn from you today. I think that's going to go a long way, right?
100%. So there's no need to know, and we're going to get into this, I think, that's a great segue. There's no need to worry that you have to have some kind of secret special sauce.
Okay.
Uh, I'm actually giving away now our next.
Well, here's the thing, right? So this is such a good segue because there's a lot of like gurus and just do what I tell you to, and like just do it my way and it'll be great. But you said right in the beginning things are changing. So let's just kind of take a minute and clear the air. I feel like SEO is one of those things, in my opinion, because I'm more of like a social butterfly type techie nerd, not like a down in the weeds dev type nerd. but like this feels intimidating. So let's clear the air. What are some common misconceptions that we want to clear the air with? Let's get us started.
So, I mean, the reality is that there is no special sauce. There's no dark magic that you have to know, and that once you uncover it, you're ranking number one forever. The reality of SEO is an ongoing effort. It's something that you want to look at periodically. You want to refresh, even just looking at, how are people searching for my product? How are people searching for my services? When people come into my business in person, how are they talking, right? That's really important to know. And also, as it relates to keywords, just looking at our search volumes changing, right? Are more people now using a term that, 6 months ago, there was pretty small search volume, but now a lot of people are really using that term to look for my particular business, my particular product or service. And so then if that's the case, start optimizing and working those keywords or keyword into your content and speaking to your audience using, again, the terms they're using. So it's an ongoing effort. And I think it's something that you want to make sure that you stay up to date with, and that you, again, are really making sure that you're speaking to your target demographic. In addition to that, and I was talking obviously a lot about Google, because of the age of AI, right? It's gotten very popular. I'm sure we all know ChatGPT, and maybe fewer of us, but still many of us know about Google Bard, which is Google's own AI system, which right now you can opt into Bard. Bard has not been rolled out full stop in Google, but we're pretty sure that's coming, where Google Bard, Google's AI, is going to be probably the main entity behind the curtains, serving up search results. And so, again, you want to think about, how can I make sure that I am really, like your word that you were using, Jade, even though a lot of people think that it's meaningless. It's not. Authentic. How can I speak to my target demographic authentically and in a way that ChatGPT can't replace the content on my website, right? Google Bard isn't going to be able to replace it. So think about that, right?
Well,
how can I make sure I'm not going to be replaced by a robot, and write content accordingly?
Well, which is so funny because right now, you're right, it's incredibly trendy. There's AI apps everywhere and AI coaches and, courses you can buy so that you can, it's so easy, have everything done for you with AI. And it sounds to me like this is a tremendous opportunity for us, like down in the dirt, gritty, small business owners that are serving human beings, to just act like ourselves and leverage that for like more eyeballs than AI could ever accomplish?
Sure, absolutely. I think using ChatGPT in particular to using it as an ideation tool, no problem. So just throwing some things in there. How would I speak to blah 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 blah? What are some great keywords for this particular niche or vertical? Fine. I think there's no problem there using that as a small business owner in particular to save yourself time. But going to that to just do all the work for you, I think and we're already seeing it, not a good idea. Because if that, we play this out, out to the, let's say, worst possible, what I'm going to call the worst possible case scenario, it just means that people decide websites useless, search engines useless. I'm just going to go to ChatGPT and get all my questions answered, do all my searching there. And so again, you want to make sure that you are serving up your content. And when I say content, that means not only written content, but video content, which is fantastic, infographics, video shorts. You're serving things up that are really going to be inimitable, right, by ChatGPT or any other AI.
Right. So, and I want to highlight Cindy's question too in the chat. She was saying, so this is an ongoing moving target or a one-time thing? I think this is kind of what we're talking about in the world of misconceptions, right? Like, guys, let this is something that we have to retouch, right?
Correct. Yes, it's definitely not a one-time thing. You've got to, again, I would say call it every 3 to 6 months, depending upon your vertical, looking at, what keywords are you targeting? How are you speaking to your demographic? What are they searching for? So that, and we'll get into this later, but looking at your analytics, right? How are people finding you? And getting this data both from, your online, so Google Analytics, Google Search Console, which are some tools that we have that are available. We'll get to that. But then also talking to your own customers in person, understanding how are they searching, what's important to them.
Perfect. So we know that's something we have to return to. So that said, let's move to the next one. How can we actually start doing this, guys? This is where we're going to get into the meat. So y'all watching, grab your pens, grab your phones, your apps. This is the meatiest part. We're so excited to share. He went so far. Mikey made an awesome list of the 5 things that we can do today. So let's keep this up for a second. If anybody wants to screenshot it, we're going to talk through them one by one, but guys, take some notes. So let's start with number 1. I don't even know what this means, so I'm very excited about it. Make sure your website is cleanly coded, mobile friendly, and is passing page speed insights. Tell us what that means in English, Mikey.
So make sure that your website is built by somebody who knows what they're doing, who knows how to code a website, so that it can be easily and quickly crawled by Google, that it will show up on people's mobile devices really fast and load well, that when they go to hover over navigation menus, it doesn't become a congealed mess. We've all been on websites like that, but it's indeed intuitive, easy to use. And then finally, page speed insight. So make sure that your website is passing all of the metrics. So there are, and I won't get into them, but basically it's actually very straightforward. Make sure all of those metrics on your website are showing a green, because there's green, there's yellow, and there's red. And very simple. Great, caution, and you're in trouble.
Is that a free website?
Yep. So Page Speed Insights is free. So it's all easy to use. You just throw your website in there and ask Google to crawl it and spit out basically scores for these different aspects of your website's page speed. So this is really important. It's important because you can have the greatest content, great products and services that your content is speaking to, and you're talking to your demographic just the way that they're searching for your products and services, like I said, but it's all wasted if they can't get to your website and use it and clearly go through the website and get what they want quickly and easily.
I'm so glad you called this out, because I feel like in the general conversation, small business owners that I see in many of the communities that I'm in or manage, that people are saying they want beautiful websites and cool features and bells and whistles, and I want a chat bot, and I want a video page and a blog. And I don't think enough people are talking about efficient and, as you say, cleanly coded, so that
100%.
It's easy to find. It's like a whole different, perspective that we need to be thinking about when it comes to our websites.
Correct. So I would say most definitely, look, we all love designy, beautiful things. So many of us here are musicians and artists. That said, if you have to pick one over the other, pick functionality over form. And obviously, I mean, it's not a high bar to ask to have an attractive looking website that is also functional. But yes, you want to make sure that your website can be indexed, it can be gotten to by users. All the bells and whistles, that's all lovely, but you want to make sure that you've really got everything, again, cleanly coded, that Google's not going to be finding errors in the nuts and bolts of your website, and therefore not serving up your content. Users can't get to it. That does you no good. So if you have a beautiful website that looks pretty and is designy and lovely, but it's not usable and it doesn't get you more leads, doesn't get you more business, what's the point? So I will just say this, in the end, spend the money to have somebody build your website who knows what they're doing. I cannot highly recommend that enough.
Wow. Okay. And, I'm sure that's not difficult to, for example, Keap users, we have an official community where we can say, hey, who do you use for this and that? So, I mean,
Absolutely.
finding someone with a great reputation shouldn't be hard. But as long as we know what to look for, like, I don't know about everyone watching, but when I showed up, I didn't even know to look for that. So that's a huge win for us. Right. So, number two, guys, I feel like two is something that is probably like 101. I think everyone watching this, we're business owners. We know what Google is, so we probably know what keywords are. But let's dig into this a little bit more. How does one research and find relevant and like the best, most opportunistic keywords for our, as you say here, content metadata and URLs? Can you elaborate on that?
So number one, so the tools you can use, there's a lot of keyword tools out there. You can use, I mean, the best known one is Google Keyword Insights. Or sorry, Google Keyword Planner rather is what it's been renamed several times. Google Keyword Planner. It's intended purpose was for paid search. So it'll give you cost per click if you're running paid search campaigns, but it also gives you search volume. So that's something that is free that you can use. There is another tool that is a little pricier, but very much worth the money, called SEM Rush, and we'll talk about that later. But so there's lots of tools where you can get reliable search volume. So you want to go after keywords where there's sort of these Venn diagrams, so to speak, right? They overlap. You have keywords that have got strong, significant search volume, but what your target demographic are also using. What I see happen a lot of times is that business owners, and not even just small business, but I mean enterprise level companies, will decide they want to be known for X, Y, Z, and that's what they want, right? It's to a certain degree, it becomes a kind of almost kind of an ego thing in a bad way. I want to be known for this. I want to be number one for this. The problem is that if people aren't searching for your product or service using that keyword, I assume you didn't put up a website and spend all this money and make this business just so you could go around and tell your friends, I'm number one for this keyword. My business is going to go bankrupt soon, but I'm number one for this keyword. Use the keywords that people are actually searching for to find your product and service. Even if it's not the keyword that you would want to use, that you think they should be using, it's what they're using. And so you can find ways to use the keywords they're using, and then also intermingle those with the keywords you'd like for the similar keywords you'd like for them to use. And by association, when they're reading your content, which is naturally written, to use the keywords they're using and the keywords that you're using that you'd like them to use, it'll begin to bring those things together. And you might find people are starting to search using the keywords you'd ideally like for them to use. But first and foremost, use the keywords in your content that people are using. And I'll just say, along with that, I'm sure everyone probably knows this, don't stuff your keywords, don't stuff your title tag and your description tag and the content itself with these keywords. There's no magic number of times you need to use a keyword. The days of that are long over with. Talk to your audience using those keywords in a completely natural, conversational way.
Yeah. And so speaking of which, you also mentioned that we should write content that answers the question and needs of your target. I'm assuming using the keywords and phrases that they're using. Guys, I think this is the hardest part about being a business owner, is remembering that we sell things because we're the expert, and the people that we're selling to don't speak the way that we do. Otherwise, we would be paying them, right? So can you talk about the best way to place content on your site for SEO purposes, and even addressing Stephen's great question? He's like, well, what about stuff like Wix? Like, how do we marry putting our content on a website and being found?
Sure. So answering questions, yes. So understanding, again, this is part of the keyword research, semrush.com, which I mentioned, SEMrush, we call it in the parlance. That has a whole section where you can just filter keywords by questions that people are asking. So, but as well, if you want, you're just a free way to do this, you can go into Google search your already identified target keywords, and it almost, not all, but most search results, you'll see the what's called the people also ask box, right? PAA. And there you can see questions that people are asking about various keywords, about various verticals. And that can give you ideas for what questions you should be optimizing your website for, what questions you should be answering. Because if those questions are in the people also ask box in Google, it means there's significant volume. Google wouldn't include them if they didn't have a lot of people asking those questions. So it's a free
Gotcha.
way to get a sense of what are people asking, what do people want to know.
Mhm.
And the best place you can get in organic search these days is to actually have your website as the people also ask answer, right? To be in that box. It's a what we call a featured result. And so that's a big boost for your website.
Mhm.
Okay, Wix.
And is there a trick to putting this on your website, no matter what kind of builder you're using?
So no, so I mean there is no trick to putting this on your website. So I would say about Wix specifically, uh, my own experience, this is anecdotal, using Wix, and to be fair, it's been about 3 years since I've used Wix and been dealing with websites created by Wix. Wix is not good for SEO. It was a problem. Wix advertised themselves as being great for SEO, but there were issues that Google would encounter when they would do certain crawls. So I cannot speak to the most recent version of Wix, but there again, I would say it pays to, given the cheaper option, which is probably might be Wix, and a custom, more expensive option. As the saying goes, quality lasts much longer after price is forgotten about. And I just kind of botched that. But I would say if you're given the choice, if you've got the money, go with a custom done website by somebody who knows, a web developer who knows what they're doing and is going to give you what you want in the discussion. So you can all, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jane.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we're talking about, different builders and keywords. So are you saying, and this actually speaks to number 4 anyway, are you saying it's as simple as just using those phrases in your content that's on your website, in blogs and FAQs and other
Sure.
like menu? It's just using the words. Is it that, or is it more
Using those
deeper than that?
keywords, yeah, it's absolutely. So it's using those keywords again in a natural conversational way in the content, in the metadata, title tag, description tag, your header tag, and then also for things like question and answers. So an FAQ section of your site,
Mhm.
you can actually use what's called structured data. And that is it's a code that you can use, but nobody freak out. I know we say code, people get freaked out. You can, so there is a structured data generator on a website called schema.org. Schema is the name of the actual code of structured data, and it basically just further marks up a particular section of your website by saying to Google, hey, this is an FAQ section, this is a question and an answer format. Google, make sure that when you crawl
Mm.
this, you are serving it up in SERPs, like in the actual Google SERPs. Make sure that you're serving it up as a question and an answer, so that it's very clear to everybody. That's what you're doing. Another example that we've all probably seen is a recipe, right? So if you look up, favorite chocolate brownie recipe, you'll oftentimes see the actual recipe appear in the SERPs themselves. That's because they've used structured data. That's just a recipe structured data. You don't have to know any code, but it's already a template that you can find on schema.org. And you just fill in your recipe, give it the title, boom. It spits out the code, you copy and paste, and you put it into your website, or your web
Huh.
developer can put it on your site.
So speaking of web developers and tools and stuff like that, because we're over time because this is so good, and I don't want to like bypass 4 and 5 too bad. But suffice
Sure.
it to say, can you just back up for 1 second? 4 and 5, these are things just like you were saying with like schema code. I don't know how to do that, but you gave me enough information. I can ask an expert, hey, I have a thing. I would like schema code so it's really, really easy to find and show on Google, for example. You can ask an expert to optimize your website structure, because I don't know about y'all, but we all have a tendency to make things overcomplicated really, really easily. And it sounds like a third party set of eyes is the best way to go. And then, of course, lastly, and I'm so sorry that we're glossing over this, everybody, but we have so much to get to, but picking the right KPIs. And I think what's important is what Mikey called out here, is that like what matters most to us. Are we trying to increase our traffic? Because I think if we stop thinking the word funnel, where we're like, get as many as we can and only have like a couple sales at the bottom, how can we turn that into a pipe, right? Like turn it into an actual life cycle of customers. So picking KPIs that are appropriate to you are going to be so unique depending on your industry and your vertical and your expertise and, your style, your size, so many things. So these are definitely things that we should definitely be talking to experts about. So everyone take a screenshot, write those 5 things for when you're consulting with an expert, because now you know what to start with, and that's what's most important, right, y'all? So let's move on. Again, I'm so sorry. Okay, so tools. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because you were kind of dropping golden nuggets like in our conversation. You're like, oh, I promise I'll talk about that. Let's do it. Tell me about these top 5 tools that you think that we can all use today. I think a lot of these are free too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Google Analytics, Google Search Console, those are definitely free. Yoast also free. That's for your WordPress. In fact, I'm probably sure everybody's at least heard of Yoast. It's a plugin, which is actually quite stable, quite good. I've never had any issues with using Yoast plugin, SEO plugin on WordPress sites. So SEMrush and Ahrefs, there are very, very simple versions that are free. It's kind of not really worth it. It is worth it to pay the money. But Google Analytics, I think, is a must-have. So Google Analytics really tells you what's going on your website. So the number of users you're getting, new users. There's more data than you'll probably actually ever need to use, than you'll ever want as a small business owner. But you can also find out where is the traffic coming from Google, from Bing, direct to your site, right? They're just typing it in, or they've got a bookmark saved. That is to say, they're typing in your URL. If they're coming from referral sites, so if you've got partnerships set up, let's say with other businesses' websites, it'll give you that information. So Google Analytics is really, I think, key just for understanding what's going on. It just gives you, this easy dashboard to understand where's the traffic coming from. And where's the traffic coming from? What pages are really being trafficked the most? Now, Google Search Console. So Search Console, there's an overlap between Google Analytics and Google Search Console. Google Search Console drills down into the keywords people are using to get to your website. So that's really valuable. So when you're doing that keyword research we were talking about, you want to use Google Search Console to really get in there and to be able to see how are people actually searching for and finding my website. So that should also inform your 3 to 6 month SEO refresh. Get in your Search Console and see what's going on there. You can also look in Search Console and see your most visited pages. So that's really important to know. Again, the pages and the keywords, 2 sides of the same coin. You want to make sure those are married up and making sense. You're using the right keywords on the most trafficked and relevant pages. And then, of course, for both of these, you can toggle dates to your heart's content. You can do comparisons and see, is business down on my website? I want to look at month over month, day over day, year over year, whatever you want to do. Again, probably more powerful than you'd ever need for it to be, but you can do all of that stuff. And then moving on, so SEMrush and Ahrefs. So SEMrush I talked about as keyword research. That's really the powerful thing there. You can also do competitive analysis. So I'm thinking for, even bigger small businesses, maybe you're sort of on the cusp of, you could be enterprise if you really wanted to be in 6 months, in a year. But you can also with SEMrush look at competitors and see actually what's the landscape in terms of my competitors, who's ranking for this keyword right now, who's getting the largest share of traffic. Again, you can drill down into a lot of information, so it's very powerful. Ahrefs, that's really largely to use to look at backlinks and so backlinks, which are links coming from other websites to your website. And then internal linking. So the links that you have inside of your website going from one page to another, to the next, to the other. Those are important things to consider as you get more established, as your website's more established and you've got more and more pages. I would say Ahrefs is probably not something that you need to be worried about until you've gotten to a certain size.
Okay.
And then again, Yoast. So Yoast for people with WordPress sites, I can't say enough good things about it. It makes it very simple and easy to put those SEO elements, your H1, your description tag, your title tag. No issues there. The only thing I will say that can be kind of wonky is sometimes it'll flag things in terms of characters, and it can be a little too strict. In reality, there is Google doesn't have a hard and fast number. In general, we say they'll keep title tags 60 characters or less, keep description tags 160 characters or less. Otherwise, fantastic.
And what do you mean? You say the word tag a lot. What does that mean?
Sure. So the tag is just your title tag is the thing that if you hover over the tab on your browser and on a particular website, the
Doing it
little
now.
box that pops up, that is your title tag. So right now, mine says StreamYard-broadcast,
Hmm.
studio.streamyard.com. That's the title tag. And
Okay.
then the description tag is what actually shows up in. So it's actually says description in the code itself, in the HTML code, if you're in there, and it actually just describes your website and each page of the site. So each page should have a description tag, and it just should tell the user and Google what is this page about, in a succinct but clear format. Again, using relevant keywords. That tag, both title and description tags, are indexed and show up in Google Search. So you do want them to be optimized. They do matter because the users are going to see that even before they come to your website. So your title tag and your description tag are most important for getting people to click on your result in the SERPs. So make sure you're crafting them in a thoughtful way. Again, that's speaking to your target demographic, the way that they're searching for you.
What I love about all of these is that, again, I feel like we address this. This can be highly technical and I'll admit a little intimidating, but I think it's really calming and reassuring when you talk about how we know our audience. We can do simple free searches so that we can connect with our audience really well. So we're prepared when we talk to SEO experts about tags and code and
Sure.
all of these fancy words and stuff. But it all boils down to the right words, and that at the end of the day, we can really feel that with our relationships with our best customers that we're talking to. We know what their problems are. So this is like the marriage of like authenticity and technology. So we know the authentic part. We just have to marry it with the right strategy. So thank you so much for sharing these awesome tips with us. Hope everyone
Of
wrote
course.
those down. So speaking of tools and technology, how can Keap help small businesses measure, track, or capture leads? Because SEO is happening pre-capture. How do we transfer that information into our CRM and leverage it?
Yeah, so I think that the thing is that Keap offers a lot of features that helps our small businesses track and capture their leads from SEO. So one example is that our landing page builder allows businesses to create custom landing pages. So that's you guys. You don't need anybody for that. With SEO optimized content and forms that are going to capture those leads. So again, you've got the knowledge. You know how to talk to your demographic. You've done your keyword research. So we are giving you the format, the technology part, and all you have to do is really fill it in and be yourself, be authentic. Keap also integrates with Google Analytics and other tracking tools so that you can get this kind of data that I've been talking about to understand where's your traffic coming from, how is it behaving, what should you do more of, what should you do less of, and then as well also all of the reporting analytics features so that you can over time measure how is this performing, right?
Mhm.
Quarter over quarter, 6-month mark, year over year, etc.
I love that. I love that. I love that you call out the time frame too, because in earlier we were talking about how SEO and what your people are looking for can change very quickly, especially with people using AI and all of these fancy things now. It's really important to track trends because what might have been working 6 months ago is now falling flat, and so it's really helpful to not just look at what the activity is right now, but being able to track, as you said, month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, and making sure that we're always implementing the best practices. That's incredibly helpful. So when it comes to using stuff like Keap, there are absolutely, like you said, I love that we can take some of the, I don't know, we didn't really get into like Google Analytics and stuff, but there is the ability to capture the URL parameters, the UTM. So you might have the same web form on your website, but the incoming leads, one might come from a Google search and another might be coming from a Facebook ad. And if you're just using a plain form, Keap doesn't know that. So there's definitely ways to implement strategies using where the traffic is coming from and capturing that information so it's measurable over the long term once they're in your app.
Sure.
Yeah. Very cool. So we have a lot of really, really good questions. But before we move on to them, Mikey, I might actually kick you off for a second because I want to show everyone a little bit of what we're talking about. And then I'll bring you back up for some Q&A. Does that sound good? Perfect. Okay, so on my screen here is I have what we call a sandbox app. So if any of you guys watching are not Keap users yet, we'll make sure you get the opportunity to try it out. It's really, really awesome. But the things that I want to call out that are relevant to today's conversations is right off the bat, you can see when I log into Keap, this is not a dashboard that I manipulated very much. In fact, the pipeline one is one that I made just playing around, but everything else is actually really, really native. So the very first dashboard widget we see, how many contacts do I have? But the second one, how many leads in the last 30 days? Obviously, I apologize. This is a fake sandbox app. So these are not real data, but I can identify trends based on my SEO efforts and my lead acquisition efforts, trying to get eyeballs and traffic. So I can actually click this drop down and see, am I identifying how many leads am I seeing coming in the last 30 days, 7, 14, 30, 60? And we can track that activity into our app. I love that. There's also a great deal of reporting. Now, when we think reporting, it's really easy to go, oh, I just want to see, how much money I made this month. That's pretty simple because that's your lifeblood, right? You need cash flow to have a business, right? But there's so much more than that. There's actually the ability to track their engagement, because let's say you have a really successful SEO campaign and then you have a ton of leads coming in, but they're not engaging. Well, that's going to be a really great cue to you that you have the wrong kinds of leads coming in. It's like Mikey was talking about earlier. You might be using the best keywords, but if they're not relevant to you and they're not speaking to your audience, we don't want to pay for the wrong kind of leads, right? Dustin had a really good question. Is this QuickBooks? QuickBooks is very much like a financial and accounting app. This is much more for the entire lifecycle automation framework, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using automation in this one simple tool to communicate to our clients. After we attract them, we're going to engage with them. Then we're going to put offers in front of them using landing pages and, broadcasts saying we have a sale coming up with landing pages where they can buy the thing. Then, of course, the transaction happens. We put the offer in front of them, we close, and all of these are measurable milestones within the app. We can track not only the SEO, which keywords are performing the best, but once they're in, what if my keywords, efforts from this SEO are converting higher in the long run after they've been seeing the offer and are moving through my automation, versus this SEO campaign, I was pushing hard on this keyword, nobody converted. So everything, it's important. What we love most about using tools like this is that it's the big picture. We can see what's working, what's not. We can see the data on these behaviors versus these behaviors. We can see the conversion rates. We can see, are they clicking? What kind of resources are they interested in? We can tag based on, do they like this resource better than this resource? And so when you marry all of that into data and reporting, that's the dream, right? So, and I could sit here all day, I could click, I could build automation, but really what I wanted to show you was really just a highlight of, it doesn't end with SEO. It's not all about the leads. It's not all about getting as many people as you can. It's about having meaningful, authentic conversations with people from start to finish, from lead acquisition to not just closing the sale, but keeping that customer and loving them up and cycling them back through and getting referrals and testimonials. That's why we love lifecycle automation. So I'm so glad I got to click around with that with you guys. We do have the opportunity to, if you're not a Keap user yet, there is a QR code that we can pull up, and there we go. Beautiful. 20% off. It's a steal. I like to say when I'm talking to Keap with my own prospects, I say it's the cheapest customer you'll ever have. And guys, I'm going to pop the hood for you even more. Deb on our lovely team here, she's chatting the link where you can get that 20% off discount. And you'll notice in the links, we're not just slapping that link out and saying, I hope people buy it, don't know where they're coming from. How apropos that in this presentation today, I'm going to call that out. You can see it's buykeap.com/UTM source hop. Like, we're calling out in the link that you can use to buy Keap where it came from. So we know that this was an effective and meaningful presentation with you guys. So we love that you guys engage with that. Take these tips, take them home. And I think we still have some time. Let's bring Mikey back up. I saw a really good conversation, a really good question come in earlier. I'm so glad we have time to address it. And yeah, tons of questions. Which ones should we do first? Okay. Tony Jones said, I just did the page speed insights. Guys, did you notice that, Mikey? Everybody, while you were saying it, they were trying it.
I love that.
It was so great. Everyone's like, oh no, okay, mine's okay, good, bad. And they were sharing each other's scores in the chat.
So I'm actually, what is the web? Can you ask for the web address? I'd love to go through this actually. I have it right here as well. What's his actual website? Did he give it?
Yeah, Tony, if you want to share, we can demonstrate. But
wonderful.
Everything came up great except performance. So tell us what the word performance means, because I agree that feels kind of vague. What does performance mean when there's
So it's basically it's the performance of the site in terms of the total interactivity, total user interactivity. So all of the action that somebody's taking. So where they're clicking, how often they're clicking, how long they're on the site, basically all of the interactions, how quickly they're moving through your site. Does it seem like somebody is able to quickly get through, get through their site and get to what they're asking for, or are they getting stuck? Also, thinking about, that's why, did he give his website address? I was so curious to go through. Can he give it?
I'm not sure. I don't see it yet, but keep elaborating though. Yeah, everyone's saying the same thing. Actually, more people are saying same for me. Great scores. Okay.
Yeah,
but performance is just 30.
Yeah. So I think that you want to do something, some things that would be increasing the experience in terms of your visual content. So think about video. Think about images. So do you have huge images that are taking up a lot of space? So I think pixels, those should be compressed. If you have videos, again, what's the length of those? How much space are they taking up on your site? Are you optimizing your images so that they're clear to people? So do you actually have image alt tags on your image, so that they're actually indexed by Google? So that if somebody was to do an image search, you could say, well, so I'm a pianist, my beautiful Yamaha 6'1" CX3 piano, right, if that's actually there in the image itself, in the image alt tag, this is going to be even better for your site to show up. Okay, Can you just give his website address?
He did. It's field-based-stem.kiwi. While he's pulling that up, I want to address another question real quick. Cindy asked in the chat, I want to, let me pull it up. I want to capture UTMs on landing pages. What's the easiest way to do that? So Keap Pro and Max are actually automatically capturing the UTMs. Those are the little pieces that are tacked onto the end of your link that identify exactly where that link came from, so you can backtrack and see what's effective. That's actually automatically being captured into any of your native Keap, whether public forms, checkout forms, or Keap, the new landing page builder. So when you use those things, any UTMs are coming in, that's automatically captured. And once you have that data stored in contact records, you can actually search and filter. So if I wanted to pull up a list of my contacts just from my specific Google Analytics SEO campaign named A, I can search for that exact thing. So that's pretty cool. Love that. So thanks for asking. Okay, we got the link right here, field-based-stem.kiwi. Dustin, I think we addressed this a little bit earlier. He asked, does this look like QuickBooks? I can't elaborate because I don't use QuickBooks because I use Keap. I'm sure it's kind of one of those things where if you have a tool like QuickBooks that's just for money, then it's probably going to have tons of bells and whistles because it only does that thing. Whereas Keap is really robust and it has a multitude of features that serve the fundamental needs of a small business. We need automation so we have time to sleep and eat. We need forms to capture those leads so we don't have to manually take phone calls all the time. We need custom fields, and we also need the transactions. So I hope that kind of answers your question a little bit. Mikey, did you get a chance to dig in on that as a
I
sample?
sure did, yeah. So I see here, right? So you've got performance is right. Is the one red flag here. So if you look down, Tony, so looking at the metrics, first contentful paint, total blocking time, speed index, largest contentful paint. These are all, and I won't get into the nitty gritty, but these are all technical terms that Google's using to basically say how long does it take for your website and everything on there, right on the homepage, to show up? How fast does it quickly load and present itself to the user? And so those numbers are saying it's taking too long. So a person couldn't quickly, all those different interactions, they couldn't quickly start scrolling, getting into the navigation, clicking to what they're after. They have to wait for these things to load. So they have to wait for it, if you will, to be painted, right? For the actual, for the server to actually paint the images, the colors, the text, everything. But in terms of your SEO, following best practices, the accessibility, can Google find it? All of those things, great. But so looks like this could be something where, I can't tell you without actually obviously getting into your website, this might be something where it might be worthwhile to just get a consult with a web developer to have them go through and look at what could they improve in terms of the back end coding that would push this performance into a 90 or above, or even high 80s, B+.
And Cindy brought up a great point. If you guys are on any of these really cool tools for free where you can check your scores, she said on the page speed score, there's actually suggestions on the bottom on what you can do to improve it. And I think one of the easiest things you can do is, a lot of us have like big, beautiful images on our websites. Sure. There's free, I don't know about you, tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing here, but I often, before I put a really big picture on my website, I just Google like free, website image optimizer, and it compresses it so it doesn't take up so much space. Well, it's still the same big, beautiful image. It just makes it more optimized for page loading speeds. Is that correct?
Sure, 100%. Yes, that's an easy thing to do. As well,
you guys, you can hear my dog snoring. He's a bull mastiff. He's like bigger than me, and I'm so sorry. That is my dog snoring.
As well, there's something that to be aware of that might be going on, and that is in the back end of a website, and Tony's in particular, where there might be a lot of code, a lot of JavaScript or some other code that is on the website, but it's not immediately being used, and it may be that on your site it's rarely ever needed to be used. So having a professional developer, just come through your website and do an audit, right, and consult on it, might uncover, hey, Tony, you've got a bunch of pages of JavaScript here, and if we just remove the JavaScript, I think I could give you a 10 to 20% increase, let's say, in your performance, roughly.
And that's a lot, right?
That's a lot, right? And so that's, that moves the needle, significantly. And so, so you pay Tony, for his consulting time, and then the time to actually do that on the back end, remove that JavaScript. That's money well spent, right? Because these things, right, having a well and cleanly coded website that loads quickly.
That was like tip number one, guys. We're going back to tip number one.
that is, with some caveats, is one and done. Unless you decide to completely redesign your website or add a bunch of stuff to it, having that clean code that's easily accessible and crawlable by Google is something that does not need to be repeatedly refreshed. So that's money that is truly an investment, and that will pay dividends. Again, barring you doing a full redesign or anything else.
Okay. Do we have another really good question we want to pull up, guys? Okay. What about ADA on a website? Is that something small businesses should try to include, and does it affect SEO? First of all, I don't even know what ADA is. So thanks for asking, Michelle.
So you're talking about Americans with Disability Act, right? So somebody who might be using a screen reader. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so I think that actually one of the biggest things, one of the biggest reasons that we have image alt tags is for folks who are visually impaired, so that they can actually see or hear if they're, let's say completely visually impaired, if they're blind, they can actually have the screen reader tell them what images are coming up. So I do think that that's something that's good to, if your website is actually ADA compliant and you go through all of those things to be compliant for people who are visually impaired, as well for somebody who is hearing impaired. So let's say you have a video, a lot of videos on your website, having then written transcripts. Largely, this has become something that's kind of default now. I mean, the way that stuff, for example, Netflix, right, all the streaming platforms, they all have subtitles. Even if you're watching in your own native language, it's always an option. So yes, I think ADA, that's great. Particularly, I mean, think about your target demographic. If you have users who might be, for sure are visually impaired or hearing impaired, and that's something you should absolutely do. But in and of itself, is it going to do anything? I don't want to paint.
Yeah. Is it going to slow your site down or affect SEO or help?
Absolutely not. And it's not going to make Google go, oh my God, this is amazing. We're making you #1 immediately in Google search. It's something for users. So again, it's building just credibility and goodwill and trust with your users. So it's certainly a great thing to do. But it's no silver bullet. And that's something that I think probably is a statement I wanted to make earlier, particularly as we're getting closer to time here. There is no one silver bullet with SEO. It's a variety of things. It's a variety of tactics that in concert with each other come together to give you put you in SEO best practices shape. So I think it's important to think in those terms, right? It's not any one little thing, but it's all of these things in concert with each other.
As a musician, I appreciate the way that you elegantly spoke that. And I just want to say a big fact, if you're not watching the comments, everyone is like, wow, cool, great tip. Thank you. I love this. This was a highly, highly technical topic, and you made it so fun and easy that everyone was testing their sites while we were talking. So I appreciate how you translated this. So it makes sense, everybody. So I hope everyone really enjoyed that. Of course, we recorded it, so everyone that registered will be able to review and see all of those little tips and try them again and improve and then retest and improve and retest, because this is a moving target, but we're all here. We're all a community. If you're not a Keap user yet, we look forward to seeing you in the Keap official community so we can chat. We're here for you for the long haul, guys. So everyone's saying thank you so much, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you.